sexual immorality. Her picker was broken. Pastor ain't here, so I can say that one. But the thing is, and I feel like this is what the Spirit is really trying to get out there to many people. The thing is that she knew she was bound. She knew she was. She knew these chains were holding her down and that she lived with them. She had accepted, and I'll use our words out of our lessons instead of the biblical words, but in other words, she had accepted her insanity that she was living in. We know this because she found ways to get around the people that would ridicule her or mock her or talk about her or cast her out or make her feel a certain kind of way. Why? Because she would go draw her water at the hottest part of the day when nobody would be there. So this lady knew that she had these issues and decided that she was going to live with them and found her own ways to go around everything that was trying to tell her that she shouldn't be doing it so she could still continue to live with it, right? But, oh, don't you love a but? That came out wrong. Amen. Thank you. At least I got one. But when the way out to a better life was presented to her, Jesus, she accepted him with open arms. There was no hesitation. There was no, let me consider it, let me think about it, let me go talk to the guy that I'm living with and see if this is a choice I want to make. She decided instantly in that moment when the living water was presented to her that that was the life that she wanted to live, and she took it, and she took every step that she told him, and she ran with it, and she told everybody she could about what Jesus had done in her life, right? He told her to change. She done everything that he told her to change in her life, and she told everyone. The key fact is that she didn't keep lying to herself and knew what was binding her. I want y'all to realize that. That was the key fact. She was not lying to herself. She knew the truth. She knew what bound her. But when the way was presented to her, she accepted it and she ran with it, right? Tonight I want to just briefly talk about being unaware that you're bound. I feel like that is the biggest issue in not just recovery, but I don't even know what you want to call it. Redemption, recovery. There's so many words and titles that you could put on it that we're really doing within this ministry, that it's not just drugs and alcohol. There's so many ways that people are bound and they have no idea that they're bound. They have no clue whatsoever. James 4:17 tells us, listen closely to it. If you want to open up to it and read it, and I'll read it. I'll tell you what, I'll read it exactly for the word. Page will be getting on to me right now. I used to have everything marked where I could just go right to it. James 4:17 says, remember it is sin to know what you ought to do and then not to do it. Let that sink in a little bit. Remember it is sin to know what you ought to do and not to do it. Now I want to read another scripture. John 8:34 and 35. Jesus replied, I tell you the truth. Everyone who sins is a slave of sin. A slave is not a permanent member of a family, but a son is a part of the family forever. So now correlate those two scriptures together. If you know what you're supposed to do, but you don't do it, you're sinning. If you're sinning, then you're a slave to that sin, and a slave is not a permanent member of the family, but a son is a part of the family forever. The main chain that binds us is sin, right? But you see, the problem is, here's the issue. The problem is that we have, either we use the Ten Commandments or we use what we choose to read in our Bible. We pick and we choose and we pull out what is a sin and what is not a sin. So we can correlate in our minds and happily live the lifestyles that we're living and yet still feel like we're okay that we're not sinning. Because the Bible don't specifically say that this is a sin. I didn't find this anywhere that said this was a sin. I didn't find anywhere where it told me that this was a sin, so yet I can do it and still be okay. See, that is a chain that binds you. And if it is a chain that binds you, that means you're a slave to that sin. And if you're a slave to that sin, then you cannot walk in freedom, right? Most of us will be like, yeah, I don't steal, I don't kill, I don't cheat. We have built our own mindset of what we believe sin is. And each and every one of us is different in what our concept of what we believe what sin is to us, right? But it's clear as day from the words of Jesus that if you know what you're supposed to do and you don't do it, that is sin. That's how you know when you're in the right or wrong, right? When you build that mindset of picking and choosing what you believe sin is and what is not a sin, that hinders you from realizing that you are truly bound by some form of chain that you are a slave to in your own life. Believe it or not, but it's the truth. It could be something very small. It could be something very big. Right? We always point the big things out: drugs, alcohol. How many times of control? How many times of bad decisions? How many times of, oh man, I can sit here and name things on forever and ever that we simply, it all begins with not lying to yourself, right? That's part of our first two steps. You got to be able to not lie to yourself. You can say whatever you want to. You can make up whatever excuse in your mind that you want to, but the truth is God has placed a soul inside of you, a soul that knows right from wrong. And every time you make that wrong decision, you are pushing away the right decision. There's nobody that is too far gone that there is not a thought in their mind that this is the wrong choice that I'm making. When they make it, they know there is still a right option that they're supposed to choose, but yet they choose not to, right? When you take that pill and feel that it's not right, that's sin. When you take that drink and know it's not right, that is sin. When you gossip about that person and know you're not supposed to, that is sin. When you spend money you know you don't have wastefully, that is sin. I could go on and on and on, but the point is we all have that feeling of right or wrong. If we do opposite of what is right, then it is sin. If we are living in it, then we're a slave to it. If we're a slave to it, then we can't be set free. I hope does that make sense? It did to me when the Spirit was telling me. I'm like, I hope I put this down on paper, and Lord, give me the strength to let it come out right. It sounds so simple, but yet it really is. It really is that simple. We're the ones that choose to not make the right choice. We choose that what is in this life is more important than what is in this life that's yet to come. We come to church on Sundays, and that's good enough for us, right? There's plenty that sit in different seats, different pews, different churches that are still bound by sin, and they don't even know it. Because do it every day. You want to hear what Rick just said? He said nobody would sit here and say, I want to be a slave. Nobody would ever choose to say that, but yet a majority of us do it every single day. That is what step 1 and 2 talks about insanity. in the insanity that we live in. And there's only one that can restore us back to sanity. Right? I got to get this done. I've got to make sure that it's handled this way. I got to make sure that I go here, or that I'm with this person, or I got to make sure they're my friend, or I got to make sure this person likes me. I got to make sure that I have this taken care of or that taken care of. I got to make sure that I have this in my body so I feel a certain kind of way. I got to. It's choosing to be a slave. And that is a chain that binds you. And as long as you let that chain hold you down, you will never be set free. Fully free. And that's the whole point of this program. It's the whole point of this life. It's the whole point of why Jesus died on the cross. It was the whole point of the gospel. It's the whole point of his mission that we're supposed to carry forth, is that he died and paid the price for everything. Everything, right? Stop lying to yourself. The woman at the well was changed because she stopped lying to herself and began to pursue a relationship with Jesus, the only one who can open your eyes and truly set you free. That's the sad thing about these chains. Like Rick said, none of us choose. The majority of us don't choose. There's some that do. A lot of us do. And deep in addiction and other parts, we choose to be a slave. We know that it controls our lifestyle, but there's a lot that have no idea that their life is ran around this one thing or these two things, and they're completely controlled by it. Their emotions are controlled by it. Their decisions are controlled by it. Their actions are controlled by it. When yet Jesus has already paid the price to set you free, to where you don't have to worry about those things, right? 2 Timothy, that's where I'm fixing to go next. And I'll make this quick, guys. I'm almost done. I'm over halfway there, like I said. I wanted to make it short, but add a little something. 2 Timothy 2, 25 and 26. Gently instruct those who oppose the truth. Perhaps God will change those people's hearts, and they will learn the truth. Then they will come to their senses and escape from the devil's trap, for they have been held captive by him to do whatever he wants. And that sums it up. Read it again. Gently instruct those. So if you want to read it personally, learn through instruction yourself that when you oppose the truth, pray that God will change your heart, that you will learn the real truth, that you will come to your senses and escape from the devil's trap, because that's what these chains are. Just because you're not bound by drugs or alcohol or any of those serious things that everybody looks at when they think about recovery does not mean that the devil has you stuck in one of his traps. Because I promise you, if he can't hit you with one, he's coming through the other. Who was it? Where did I hear the other day? Was Pastor the one that was talking about it? Yeah, Pastor in Sunday's message. Yeah. If he can't come through the front door, if he can't kick it down, then he's going to a window. If he can't get the window open, then I guess if you got a chimney, he's going to see if he can come down the chimney. If he can't come down the chimney, he's going to see if he can he is not going to stop till he will find a chain that will bind you and keep you from really living in freedom with Jesus, right? And having that full relationship. It's not just, it's a relationship and a dependency upon him for everything in your life. And that's where the true joy comes from. That's where the true walking in freedom comes from. The second part I want to talk about, first, of course, was sin. That was one of the number one chain, the main chain that binds us, is being in sin and not even knowing that we're in sin. But the second part I wanted to speak about is mental. In Psalms 142:7, David, it's David. David says, "Bring my soul out of prison, that I may praise your name." Anxiety, fear, depression, broken heart, hopelessness, double-mindedness, intrusive thoughts, shame, self-condemnation, emotional oppression, inability to find peace, loneliness, and overthinking. These are all chains that bind you and keep you from living free. If the enemy can't get you to make a bad choice and to sin and to live in that chain, then he's going to come after your mind. He's going to attack you in ways that you're fearful, you're anxious, you down yourself, you talk bad about yourself, you're not good enough, you're double-minded, you can't decide which way you want to go, left or right. That's exactly what David is speaking of when he was singing the Psalms. He says, "Bring my soul out of prison so that I can praise your name." You may think that you just have to live with it. You may think that you have seen, you may have seen several doctors, you may have taken all the medications, you may have talked to every therapist, and I'm not, God works through many ways. Y'all, I'm not, this is a personal battle I've went through myself, okay? I'm not knocking any of it, and I'm not telling anybody just to stop what you're doing right now. I strongly advise, don't just stop it immediately and change, but be open-minded. Keep your heart open. But you may have done all these things, even given thought. Have you ever given thought, that these feelings or emotions are a ploy of the enemy? To those that have never lived through it, you may not understand it. But those that have, that's why I'm personally asking you. Yes, the situations that you faced or the traumas you went through were real. I'm not taking that away from you. But that doesn't mean that you have to forever live with the after effects of what happened to you. Have you ever given thought that it's not, sorry, our most, you hear it, it is what it is, you know? I guess I'll just have to live with it. Just have to figure out how to move on. You know, well, my doctor says this, or my therapist says this, or, and like I said, I'm not taking away from that. That's needed. That's very much needed. But most of the time, I would say 9 out of 10 times, people that struggle with these mental issues never even give it a thought that it is an attack of the enemy straight from the pits of hell to control their mind, to keep them from walking in the freedom and joy that Jesus paid for. The word says that the enemy comes. Oh, that's my next line. You've tried everything else, and that's why I ask you to try realizing that this is a spiritual attack and a chain that keeps you from walking free. Try having a relationship with the one who died on the cross so you don't have to live with it. And just see if there's a difference. Give it a shot. You've tried everything else. Just start having a relationship with him. See if you don't start to see a difference in your life, because I would bet everything I have that you will. Everything that I have that you will, because there is nothing in this word that is not true. And when it says that Jesus died on the cross for everything, it means everything. Not just the sin, not just the cancer, not just the things that we think are so big. Mental is a very big chain that binds a lot of people and keeps them from coming into programs like this, or understanding or learning or walking free, because they feel like they have to live with it. And you don't. The word says the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy, and he will do this by any means possible. I just ask you to open your eyes and your minds to all of this, and don't let him. And I'll close with this, and we'll get ready for our chips. whether it's sin, whatever that sin may be, whether tonight you realize there is something that you've been doing that you know you're not supposed to. You've had that little unction, even though it's not so bad, but you still feel that feeling that it's not right. Whether it's anxiety, whether it's fear, whether it's depression, if it's anger, if it's self-condemnation, if it's unworthiness, unjoyfulness, no matter what it is a chain of the enemy that is holding you back from walking in the freedom that Jesus paid the price for. And you hold every bit of power in your hands to have that. But you see, the thing is, in order to walk in it, you got to take it out of your hands and you got to lay it at the feet of Jesus. And you got to walk away from it. You got to quit holding on to it. You got to quit living with it. You got to quit making excuses for it. You got to quit having a self-reliance and thinking that it's okay or making excuses, or lay it down and walk away with it. That's what you have to do. And draw near to the Lord, and I promise you he'll draw near to you. So that, Quentin, I'm going to close. And I ask you tonight to take a deep thought as we bring these chips up here. And if you need to surrender, surrender. Tonight, make your mind up that you're going to lay it at his feet and you're going to leave it at his feet and walk in the victory he's given you. Amen. And Troy, Rick, Amy, y'all want to come up here?